Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. 8 ways the Golden Bachelorette's Chock Chapple may be using Joan Vassos for clout. Is he being genuine? The Golden Bachelorette star Chock Chapple was Joan Vassos' final choice this season, but he may be using her for clout and attention after signs he's been disingenuous with his new fiancée. Throughout the Golden Bachelorette Season 1, Joan and Chock's connection was something Bachelor Nation took issue with. After getting to know Joan during her appearance on The Golden Bachelor, her personality was one that Bachelor Nation was looking forward to getting to know. As Joan moved through the first weeks of the show, she seemed like a front-runner for winning Jerry Turner's heart. Joan's appearance on The Golden Bachelor Season 1 was short-lived, however, as she left the series early in order to tend to a family emergency back home. While Jerry and Joan's connection had been sweet, both moved on to better things. When Joan was approached to be the lead of The Golden Bachelorette, she chose to take on the challenge of being the lead swiftly, making it clear that she wanted to find the next love of her life. Joan was adamant that she find someone who aligned with her values and understood her backstory. As Joan's time as the lead came to fruition, she got the opportunity to meet men from all over the country and see if they were someone she could build a connection with. Meeting Chock, Joan felt sparks fly quickly. She was interested in the Kansas-based businessmen, and when Bachelor Nation noticed, they weren't thrilled. While Chock seemed to have interest in Joan, he was giving off some serious red flags on The Golden Bachelorette. Isolated and only interested in Joan, Chock didn't make relationships like the rest of the Golden Bachelorette cast, and his feelings moved quickly. While some Bachelor Nation viewers were interested in the way the couple were building their relationship, others felt strongly that Chock was love-bombing Joan. After Joan chose Chock at the end of the Golden Bachelorette Season 1 and accepted his proposal, Bachelor Nation has had the opportunity to see the couple outside of their on-screen element. Seeing the pair in their new daily lives has proven further that Chock appears to be using Joan for clout while she's building genuine feelings for him. The Golden Bachelorette star may be dealing with someone who's only looking for attention from the media. As Joan and Chock moved through their time on The Golden Bachelorette, it was clear that Joan's level of natural charm wasn't something that Chock exuded on his own. While he was sweet to Joan and respectful to the rest of the cast, Chock didn't have the same charisma that some of the other men had. Instead, he was overly flattering to Joan in a way that didn't sit well with Bachelor Nation. Chock often felt like he was going over the top to make himself stand out. While Joan had a lot of attention throughout The Golden Bachelorette, it felt clear that she was taking in the most genuine experiences and leaving some of the rest behind. Chock, in an attempt to make himself look good, was overly flattering toward Joan, being extremely complimentary as he moved through the season. While Joan deserved the compliments, they didn't always feel genuine coming from the business owner. In a similar fashion throughout the season, Chock worked hard to be as charming as he could in order to curry favor with Joan. While it was clear when he was with the rest of the Golden Bachelorette cast that Chock was more of a loner who enjoyed being on his own, he did his best to make himself seem like a personable, charming guy when he was around Joan or her new she'd-be watching. Rather than being his authentic self, Chock appeared to be laying it on thick. Chock's air of inauthentic charm was difficult for Bachelor Nation to watch, as it was clear that he was being disingenuous and that Joan was falling for it. Throughout the Golden Bachelorette season, Joan was enamored by Chock. His personality wasn't consistent as he moved through the show, with things changing depending on who he was interacting with. Joan's perception of Chock wound up all wrong, as she wasn't seeing him for who he actually is. Although he's tried to debunk the issues surrounding his non-committal attitude, Chock's noted lack of commitment in his past relationships was a clear red flag that Joan ignored heartily on The Golden Bachelorette. While Chock was all about the big picture and the long haul during his time on the show, his exes begged to differ when it came to the Kansas native. Sharing that Chock had been similarly overly affectionate to them before breaking their hearts, he looked bad to Bachelor Nation. On top of his distant exes, Chock's most recent relationship had been an engagement to his longtime love, Kathy. The pair were engaged for nearly a decade before Kathy tragically passed from cancer. Though this connected Joan and Chock, there was very little information about why Chock and Kathy never married, despite being engaged for the better part of 10 years. While Joan resonated with the tragedy, Bachelor Nation didn't understand the commitment issues. Throughout the Golden Bachelorette season, Joan and Chock had some extreme dates that they went on to get to know each other better. Though the Bachelor franchise is known for its over-the-top dates and fairy tale romances come to life, Joan and Chock's relationship featured an interesting mix of Bachelor-produced moments and Chock-produced moments. While the Golden Bachelorette sent Chock and Joan on sweet dates, like their first trip to Disneyland, Chock was also being larger than life whenever possible. Chock often made high-stakes, over-the-top statements of affection toward Joan during his time within the season. While their connection was somewhat different than Joan's connections with others because of shared tragedy, it was clear that Chock was doing the most when he was with Joan. Wearing his feelings loud and proud, he made Joan feel as secure as possible in their relationship, whether he reciprocated the feelings or not. As Joan and Chock moved through the Golden Bachelorette season, it was clear that the Chock viewers were seeing on dates and in conversation with Joan was very different from the Chock who was spending time with the rest of the cast. Choosing not to build personal connections with the majority of the Golden Bachelorette cast members, Chock isolated himself during the filming of the series. While he had some personal tragedies he was working through during the back half of the season, Chock didn't make a concerted effort to build friendships. While this may not be a big deal in terms of his relationship, Chock often shared that he wasn't on the show to make friends, but instead to connect with Joan. His attitude was something Bachelor Nation was put off by, as he wasn't making time to build nourishing connections with anyone else, which made him seem isolated. Chock was even called out by some of his fellow Golden Bachelorette contestants, who didn't feel like they knew anything about him by the end of the season. Although Joan and Chock have shared that they've had some of the more difficult conversations in their relationship off-camera, the pair weren't quick to talk about the future on screen during the season. Chock, who had to account for his commitment issues in moments with Joan, knew that it wasn't going to be easy to explain his past and continue to have Joan in his future. Despite knowing that he had to come up with excuses for his behavior prior to the Golden Bachelorette, Chock wasn't an open book. Avoiding difficult conversations when it came to his past relationships, Chock did his best to answer the questions Joan had without providing full details or responses. While Joan may have been satisfied with the way Chock answered her questions, Bachelor Nation felt his responses left something to be desired. While Chock clearly had commitment issues, he wound up proposing to Joan before there were any explanations given about them. Although Bachelor Nation got to watch Joan and Chock's relationship unfold from the beginning on the Golden Bachelorette, there were some major red flags that weren't confronted before their luxurious beach proposal. With Joan feeling a firm connection to Chock, it was clear that there was confidence in their relationship as the series progressed. However, by the time Chock was chosen as Joan's final pick and got down on one knee, he was overconfident in their relationship without having done enough work to deserve that confidence.